It's approximately 1540.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, you testified that you learned, subsequent to your testifying on August 23rd, that it really was not necessary for you to fill in the time for every item that you collected at a crime scene. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were you told that you only had to enter the times where it was relevant?
Some people said that, yes.
Well, let me ask you what your criteria were on June 13th. What was your criteria for deciding when to write down a time on the field notes as opposed to those instances where you chose not to write down a time?
I really don't remember what my criteria was at the time.
Well, by looking at your field notes now, can you reconstruct what your reason was for writing down times that you collected some items, but not writing down the times that you collected other items?
Not really, no.
But it is your best recollection that the primary criteria should be when the criminalist believes it relevant. Is that right?
From what I've learned subsequent to that, yes.
Now, for item number 6, which was a blood stain at Rockingham, you did write down the time, did you not?
I believe so.
Why don't you check your notes?
Let me make sure. Yes,
But you didn't write down the time for any of the stains that you collected at Bundy. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Now, is the reason that you gave that kind of disparate treatment to the single drop at Rockingham as opposed to any and all of the stains at Bundy because you believe that item number 6 at Rockingham was relevant and the time you collected item number 6 at Rockingham was relevant, but the time that you collected any and all of the stains at Bundy were irrelevant?
Unintelligible and also single drop mistakes to the testimony.
Overall, do you understand the question?
Not really.
Rephrase the question.
Certainly. You would agree that you didn't note the time that you collected any of the stains at Bundy. Is that right?
That's correct.
My question, therefore, Ms. Mazzola, is the reason that you recorded the time you collected item number 6 at Rockingham, but didn't record the collection of any of the stains at Bundy because you deemed time to be relevant for item number 6, but irrelevant with respect to all the blood drops at Bundy?
No,
Well, if relevant was supposed to be the criteria by which you decided whether to note the time, then what was the reason why you noted it for number 6 at Rockingham, but didn't note it for a single stain at Bundy?
Assumes facts and inconsistencies in the testimony.
Overall.
I learned that it would be relevant since then. At the time, I was trying to keep track of the time. When we arrived at Bundy, Mr. Fung informed me that we would be collecting a lot of samples. The time that we started picking up, the time that we ended, keep an eye on that. Individual samples don't bother.
Well, when you say the time that you started, you mean the time you collected the first item and the time that you collected the last item?
He said, try to keep an eye on that, and that
Okay.
was it.
Did you note, what was the first blood stain that you collected at Bundy? Bundy.
Property item 41.
That was the first stain you collected? And did you note in your field notes the time that you collected the first stain?
No,
And what was the last stain that you collected at Bundy?
the last stain was from a shoe print that Mr. Fung lifted.
And did you note the time of that?
No, we did not.
So is it now your best recollection that Dennis Fung told you to note the time you collected the first stain and the time you collected the last stain, but you simply forgot to do it?
Yes,
And once you entered the house, after you collected item 11, the first item that you collected inside the house was item number 12, is that right?
Correct.
And those would be the drops of blood that you found in the foyer of Mr. Simpson's home.
Correct.
And before you collected item number 12, you did an inspection of the first floor of the house, did you not?
I can't remember if we inspected first or picked up first.
All right. Well, what time did you actually pick up item number 12? Did you record that in your notes?
Let's see. Yes,
And what time was that?
16:30,
That would be 3:30, 3:30? No, 4:30.
4:30.
4:30 in the afternoon. Thank you. And either before or after you picked up item 12, you did do an inspection of the first floor of the house looking for bloody clothing, is that right?
For blood in general.
All right, looking for blood stains,
Correct.
looking for blood smears,
Correct.
looking for flecks of dried blood.
Correct.
And you examined the kitchen, didn't you?
Yes.
You examined the kitchen sink?
I did not personally.
Well, do you know whether Dennis Fung examined the kitchen sink?
No foundation, personal knowledge.
Overruled.
Personally, I don't know if he did or not.
Right? Did you examine the laundry room?
Yes.
Did you examine the living room
Yes.
and the dining room?
Yes.
And would you agree that except for the several drops that you found right in the foyer inside the front door, that there were no bloodstains found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
That's correct.
And that there was no blood smears found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
That's correct.
And that there were no blood flakes of dry blood, found anywhere on the first floor of that house?
We did not find any.
Well, and that's what you were looking for, weren't you?
That's correct.
And you were taught, ma'am, looking for blood evidence to examine the location in a systematic way. Isn't that correct?
This has been passed and answered.
It is redundant.
Not to the inside of the house.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Especially with negative results.
And after you inspected the first floor, you went up to the second floor, is that right?
That's correct.
And did you inspect counters?
Yes.
Did you inspect light switchers?
Yes.
Did you inspect the shelves in Mr. Simpson's closet?
As the shelves themselves or the contents? What?
Just the front of the shelves
I
for any sign of blood?
don't remember if we looked at the front of the shelves or not.
Did you look at knobs on the drawers?
I believe so.
And no flakes of dried blood were found in those locations that I just enumerated to you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And no smears of wet blood were found in those locations that I just enumerated to you?
We did not find any.
One moment. And while you were there, Ms. Mazzola, did you inspect either the intercom or the telephone to see whether or not there were any bloodstains on it?
I did not personally know.
Do you know whether Dennis Fung did?
I do not know personally if he did or not.
Well, telephone's one of the locations that you were taught at the SID Mini Academy to examine for the presence of blood.
We were not taught to look at the phone. We were taught to look at things in general.
Now, up on the second floor in Mr. Simpson's bedroom, were you shown a pair of dark socks on the floor?
There were a pair of dark socks on the floor.
And who pointed out the socks to you?
I don't know if it was one of the detectives or Mr. Fung.
Didn't you and Dennis Fung ascend the stairs together to the second floor?
I don't know if we were together all the time or not. I can't remember.
Not all the time, but were you together when you went upstairs? When you left the first floor and went to the second floor?
We were both on the second level at the same time.
And at that point in time, you were still looking for any sign of blood, is that correct?
Yes,
And you were also looking to see whether or not any of the clothing had blood, is that correct?
yes.
And was Dennis Fung already in the room where the socks were prior to your arrival in that room?
I don't think so, but I can't be positive.
Did Dennis Fung pick up the socks in your presence?
He collected the socks, yes.
And did he give them to you to put into a brown paper bag, or did he put it in the bag himself?
He put them in the bag himself.
And you saw him do that?
Yes,
And you said a moment ago that both you and Dennis Fung were looking for blood, is that right?
yes.
And you saw, of course, Dennis Fung examine or look at the socks before he put them into the bag, did he not?
I don't know if I was watching him all the time or not.
So as you sit here today, you don't know whether or not and to what extent Dennis Fung examined those socks before putting them in the bag. Is that your testimony?
Yes,
Did you personally observe the socks before, or examine the socks up close before they were put in the bag?
no,
You relied on Dennis Fung to do that?
yes.
Well, as soon as facts are not evidence, it's done.
I'm asking her
Overruled.
state of mind. That's,
Overruled.
and while you were in that room with Dennis Fung, did he at any point express to you, oh, I see blood on the socks?
False figures,
Sustained.
Did Dennis Fung say anything to you to indicate that he observed stains on the socks?
false figures,
Sustained.
When you were up in the bedroom, did you examine the carpet where the socks were found?
I did not personally, no.
Did you see Dennis Fung look at the carpet where the socks were found?
famous to law.
Overruled.
I can't remember if I saw him looking at the carpet while he picked up the socks or
Well,
not.
Ms. Mazzola, you said that you and he, it was your purpose to be examining items in the house for the presence of blood. Is that correct?
So I object to this line of questioning.
As to the carpet only, would you focus in on that, please?
That's why, okay.
But we've all been to Mr. Simpson's home, the jury, counsel. We've seen the number of items that are there. If we go through each and every item, we'll be here for a long time.
agree, Your Honor.
suggest we
Sorry.
not do that,
Okay.
especially since there are only a few items in the house.
Well, with respect to the carpet in the room,
Respect for the carpet.
both the large carpet and the smaller area rug as well. You didn't observe any flecks of blood on that carpeting, isn't that right?
The areas I looked at, I did not.
And you did not observe any smears of blood on that carpet or on that rug, isn't that correct?
On the areas I looked at, I did not.
And nor did you observe any drop of blood at either of those locations, did you?
On the areas I looked at, I did not.
And in the areas that you looked at on that carpet and on that rug, did you observe any soil?
I can't remember if I saw soil or not.
Well, if you saw an unusual amount of, if you saw any soil at all, would it have been your standard practice to call that to Dennis Fung's attention?
It depends on what you regard as any amount. I mean, carpet naturally has some dirt on it.
Did you see any soil as opposed to other types of debris on the rug or on the carpet when you inspected it on June 13th?
I do not believe so.
And you said that the one place that you actually saw a red stain was on the floor of the bathroom in the master bedroom. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was just a small, faint smear, wasn't it?
It was small, yes.
It wasn't a drop, it was simply a smear. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And you do not know, or did not know at the time, how long that faint smear of blood had been on that floor, do you?
I don't know, no.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, have either you or any member of your family ever cut yourself shaving in the bathroom?
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, based on your professional experience, do you find it unusual that you would see one small faint smear of blood on the floor of a bathroom?
Sustained. Is there any way to date blood samples that you find at scenes?
From my experience, I don't know.
Move on.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, when you returned to Rockingham that afternoon, you did collect several items of evidence, isn't that right?
That's right.
And it was your practice to write down on the field notes every item of evidence that you and Mr. Fung received, isn't that right?
Yes.
And it was the standard procedure at SID that you would record the collection of each item in the field notes at or about the time that the item was actually received. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, over the 2 days, June 13th and June 14th, you were asked to record the collection of approximately 50 or so items. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure exactly how many. Quite a few.
Well, could you look at your notes to refresh your recollection to see the approximate number of items that you collected during those 2 days?
Doesn't the evidence collection sheet speak for itself? The jury's seen it. We know it's a lot of items.
Well, I believe, Your Honor, it's approximately 50, 55 items, and I didn't want to testify.
I agree. Do we need to have the time to have the witness sit here and count the number of items?
Ms. Mazzola, other than the blood vial belonging to Mr. Simpson, isn't it a fact that every other item was recorded over those 2 days contemporaneous to its being collected?
Except 2 items we recovered before we left Rockingham on that day.
You said except for 2 items?
Correct.
And what number were those 2 items?
Property items 15 and 16.
Well, in your field notes, did you make an entry that property items 15 and 16 were collected at approximately 1,700 hours?
That is the entry, yes.
And did you make that entry in the afternoon while you were at Rockingham before you left Rockingham?
No.
When and where did you make those entries for items 15 and 16, Ms. Mazzola?
It was the following day at the laboratory.
Do you have an independent recollection of that?
It was at the laboratory the next day.
No, I'm asking you, do you have an independent recollection that it was at the laboratory the next day? Or did someone tell you or suggest to you that that's when it was?
It's my handwriting. That was the only time it could be.
Well, no, Ms. Mazzola, your handwriting appears in these field notes as saying the time of collection was 1,700 hours. By looking at your handwriting in those notes, you can't tell whether you made that entry at approximately 1,700 hours on June 13th or the next day, can you?
It was not made on June 13th
And how do you know that it was not made on June 13th?
because our field notes were in the posse box, which was locked in the back of the truck at the time.
Ms. Mazzola, Are you saying that you did not collect items 15 and 16 until after the, I'm sorry, what were the field notes on? A clipboard?
The posse box, yes, clipboard.
Well, no. Is a posse box different than a clipboard?
It serves as a posse box and clipboard. There is a place to hold the papers on the outside.
All right. And are you saying that before you collected items 15 and 16, you had already put the posse box into the rear of the van and locked the van?
Yes,
And how do you know that items 15 and 16 were collected after the posse box was locked in the van as opposed to before?
because our kits were also in the back of the truck that had our packaging material.
Ms. Mazzola, your kits with your packaging material were locked in the box, I'm sorry, your kits with your packaging material were locked in the rear of the van at the same time you locked the posse box in the rear of the van. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And have you seen a videotape showing you walking to the van with your kit?
I have seen many videos, but I believe I've seen a few with us walking to the truck with the kits.
And when you're walking to the truck with kits, you're also walking with a posse box, correct?
I believe the posse box is also there, yes.
And on that videotape that you saw, which showed you walking to the back of the van with those items, there was a time code on that tape, was there not?
I don't remember.
Well, one moment, Your Honor. Take a minute, 'cause I didn't anticipate it, I'm sorry. Ms. Mazzola, while he's getting that, just so I can back up a second, the reason you believe that the two entries of 1,700 for items 15 and 16 were written the next day is because you believe that at the time you picked up 15 and 16, the posse box, which contained the field notes, was already locked in the van. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the reason you believe that the posse box was locked in the van at that particular time is because you saw a videotape of yourself locking the posse box in the van. Isn't that correct?
I remember when we collected items 15 and 16 and what we packaged them in. That's why I know that we did not have our kits or the posse box with us.
Ms. Mazzola, as you can best recall it today, what were items 15 and 16 packaged in?
They were placed in a plastic garbage bag.
And Ms. Mazzola, on the field notes, where it says packaged in, did you write down what items 15 and 16 were packaged in?
No.
Let's show that.
Starting with 171059.
Right. Could we stop there for a minute? Now, Ms. Mazzola, it's at this point that you locked your posse box with other items of evidence in the rear of the van, is that right?
That's right.
And it's already been stipulated to, in this case, that the time that you see on that videotape is in fact the correct time, give or take, give or take 30 seconds. So that would mean that the time that you locked the posse box and the other items of evidence in your kit in the back of the van is approximately 17:11. Would you agree, ma'am?
I agree.
So would you agree, ma'am, that the time of 1700 hours is approximately 11 minutes before you lock that posse box in the back of the van?
17 to 1711, yes.
So would you agree, ma'am, that had in fact items 15 and 16 been collected at 1700 hours, the time that you put on your field report, they could have been collected and packaged the ordinary way prior to the time that you locked the posse box and the kit in the rear of the van? Would you agree with that?
If they had been collected at 1700 hours, yes.
And 1700 hours, ma'am, is the time that you put down on your field notes, isn't it?
That was written there, and I made a mistake.
But Ms. Mazzola, you said a moment ago that you don't even have an independent recollection of writing these entries the next day, but that you were relying on the fact that you must have written them the next day because the posse box at 1700 hours was locked in the back of the van. Isn't that correct?
Sustained. It's argumentative as well.
For the record, Your Honor, I think the time should be noted that she's locking the rear of the van at 17 hours, 11 minutes, and 51 seconds.
Noted.
Now, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that except for the blood vial of Mr. Simpson, every item that you collected during those 2 days, June 13th and June 14th, was recorded in the order in which it was collected?
I believe there was an item of evidence that Detective Lang brought to the laboratory that might be out of order.
Well, when was it collected by the criminalists? Would that be on the morning of June 14th?
Now, let me double check.
No shown personal knowledge.
Overruled.
It was on the 14th.
And when you say it's not in sequence, you mean to say that in your original field notes, you recorded the sneakers as being received by the criminalists prior to the time that the criminalists received the blood vial of Mr. Simpson's blood. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And other than that one switch that you've just described, were all other 50 or so items collected and recorded in, recorded in your field notes in the order in which they were collected?
I believe so.
And isn't that one of the reasons that you carry the clipboard in the first place? So you can record the different items that you collect in the sequence in which you receive them?
It is just to give us a stable writing surface so we can write things down.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean the clipboard, I mean the field notes.
Oh.
Isn't that the reason why you carry, one of the reasons why you keep the field notes?
So we can write down what we collect and the measurements, things like that.
And also so you can record things in the field notes in the order in which you collect them. Isn't that so?
Doesn't have to be in the exact order that we collect things, but just to keep track of things.
Well, weren't you taught at the SID Mini Academy to record items of evidence sequentially as you collect them? Did they teach you that?
I don't believe that was ever brought out.
Is it just a coincidence that in your field notes, that except for items 17 and 18, all the other items are recorded in the sequence in which they're collected?
It usually works out like that.
And if you don't have a clipboard handy when you receive an item of evidence, is it your procedure to record that item in the field notes at the first opportunity?
Yes,
You've been taught to do that, right?
yes.
When it came time to leave Rockingham, the last items that you remember collecting were items 15 and 16, isn't that correct?
I collected one and Mr. Fung collected the other, yes.
Okay, which of those two items did you collect and which did Mr. Fung collect?
I'll object any more testimony on 15, 16.
Just by the numbers. Ms. Mazzola, just tell us which number.
All right, Your Honor. I collected number 16.
And 16 was collected on a bench just outside the door, correct?
Correct?
And it was not Mr. Simpson's vial of blood, was it?
No.
And item 15 was collected in a trash basket in a bathroom off the foyer of the house, wasn't it?
Correct?
And number 15 was not a blood vial of Mr. Simpson's, was it?
No, it was not.
I'd object that for the question and we'll destroy.
Overruled.
Now, after you and Dennis Fung went out to load the truck with the posse box and the kits and the brown paper bags of items that you had collected, you and he went back inside for one last check to make sure that nothing had been left behind. Isn't that right?
That was one of the reasons, yes.
On the way back inside the house, Ms. Mazzola, did you observe Mr. Fung pick up the various photo ID number cards that had been left on the driveway?
I remember from the videos him picking up the number cards.
But you don't have an independent recollection
No.
of it?
No.
And I believe that day in total you used more than a half a dozen of those photo ID cards in that driveway, isn't that right?
Let's see. Maybe not quite half a dozen.
Well, number 5 was in the driveway, correct?
Correct?
6 was in the driveway,
Correct.
right? 7 and 8.
Right.
A, right?
A and B, correct?
B and C.
Correct.
8? Is that
I
correct?
stand corrected, yes.
Okay. And these photo ID cards that you use, you carry them or you store them in your black box, your kit box, don't you?
Yes,
So you can use them and recycle them, correct?
correct.
And it's also your practice, is it not, to take your trash with you when you leave a scene?
Correct?
You don't leave it behind.
No.
And approximately within a half hour after you went back into Mr. Simpson's house, you left to return to SID headquarters, didn't you?
Could be within half hour or so.
Well, did you look at the videotape which had the time code on it?
I might have, but I didn't memorize the time.
And when you walked out the final time, you saw yourself on a videotape carrying a black trash bag, is that right?
It was a trash bag, yes.
And prior to your seeing that videotape, you did not have an independent recollection of your leaving carrying a black trash bag, did you?
No, I remember carrying trash bag. I'm not sure of the color, but I remember carrying the trash bag.
You had a prior recollection, you had an independent recollection of that prior to seeing the videotape?
Yes.
And as a basis for forming that prior recollection, did anyone suggest or remind you of the fact that you had been carrying a black trash bag out of the scene
No, I remember carrying a trash bag out of the scene.
independently?
Yes.
And when you carried that trash bag out of the scene, at any time did Mr. Fung ever say to you to be careful because it's glass?
False for hearsay.
Sustained.
Were you aware when you were carrying that trash bag that it contained breakable glass?
No.
Still false for hearsay.
Overruled.
On the way back to the laboratory, did Dennis Fung ever say to you to make an entry in the field notes that you had received a vial of Mr. Simpson's blood?
Sustained.
Can we have a sidebar here?
It's hearsay. Proceed.
And the clipboard, the field notes that were locked in the posse box, when you got back to SID headquarters, they were removed with the items of evidence, weren't they?
Yes.
Everything was brought inside.
Yes.
And how does that posse box open?
It has just a simple clip.
Oh, it doesn't need a key.
No.
All right. Ms. Mazzola, how much later, after you went back into Rockingham for the second time, was it before you collected items 15 and 16? Approximately?
When we went back the second time,
When I say the second time, ma'am,
Yeah.
just so I can clear this up for you, I don't mean returning at 3 o'clock, at 3:15. I mean you went out to the truck with your posse box and kit, and then you went right back in for one last check.
right,
After you went in for that one last check, how much time passed before you collected item 15?
so item 15 was, not sure which one.
Do you have a note that indicates how long it was after you returned for one last check before you picked item 15?
No, I was just making sure which item was item 15.
Oh, okay.
I picked up item 16 on our way in, and Mr. Fung, I believe, picked up item 15 within a couple of minutes of that.
When you got back to the lab from Rockingham, did you make any entry in your field notes to indicate that you had, or Mr. Fung had collected a vial of blood?
No.
And your field notes were with you at that point in time, weren't they?
Yes.
And when you got back to the SID laboratory early that evening, would you agree that the most time-consuming matter for you was the removal of the little swatches with bloodstains and having them transferred into test tubes?
That's correct.
And what did you do with the other brown paper bags that contained the items that had been collected?
They were placed on one of the tables in the evidence processing room.
And were they simply left there as brown paper bags?
Yes.
And is it SID standard procedure for storing wet stains overnight to allow them to dry in a cardboard box?
They are put into a cabinet for drying, yes.
Well, and in that cabinet, they are placed in a cardboard box, isn't that right?
That's correct.
And is it the standard procedure at SID that when you receive a test tube of whole blood, to refrigerate it as soon as is practicable?
I personally have never received a tube of blood like that.
But you have been taught things at the SID Mini Academy, haven't you?
Yes, but I can't remember what they said about a tube of blood.
As you sit here today, you have no recollection whether in all of those lectures at the SID Mini Academy, anyone ever said to you, you should refrigerate a vial of blood as quickly as practicable?
Ask the answer.
Call roll.
I can't remember if it was brought up. It could have been brought up. I don't remember.
Had anyone taught you at the SID Mini Academy that it was okay to leave a vial of whole blood in a trash can on a counter overnight?
Assumes facts, not an evidence.
No, that's Mr. Fung's testimony.
In a trash can?
In a trash bag, I said. And if I said trash can, I stand corrected, and I withdraw the question and I'll rephrase the question.
Please.
Had you been taught by anyone at the SID Mini Academy that it was okay to store a vial of whole blood in a trash bag on a counter in an unrefrigerated capacity overnight?
I don't believe that was brought up.
In fact, the first time that the blood vial of Mr. Simpson's is recorded in your notes is the next morning, June 14th. Isn't that right?
I believe it was sometime the next day.
Well, do you know if it was the morning or the afternoon?
I'm not sure which one
Do you
it
have
was.
any independent recollection as to when it was?
No, I do not.
Isn't it true that that the blood vial was not recorded by you until after you were told about the sneakers that Detective Lang had dropped off at the SID laboratory?
That is correct.
And thus, it was at that point in time that you made the notations in the field notes identifying the tennis sneakers as item 17. Isn't that correct?
They were recorded in the notes, yes.
And it's at that point in time, after you were told about the sneakers, that you were then told about Mr. Simpson's blood vial. Isn't that right?
Calls for hearsay.
Sustain.
Isn't it true that you then recorded, after you recorded the sneakers as item 17, that you then recorded the blood vial of Mr. Simpson as item 18?
That's correct.
And the reason that you recorded it in that sequence at that time is at that point in time, it was your understanding, was it not, that item 17 had been collected prior to item 18?
Calls for hearsay.
Call roll.
The tennis shoes were brought to my attention first, so I recorded it first.
Ma'am, didn't you also say a little while ago that it was your practice, whenever possible, to record items as they are collected sequentially?
As much as possible, yes.
All right. And so when you received these items, the reason you recorded number 17 as the sneakers and number 18 as the blood vial is because at that point in time it was your state of mind that number 18 was received by SID after the sneakers.
The sneakers were brought to my attention. I wrote them in the field notes. Later, the blood vial was brought to my attention.
Now, I think you said earlier, we agreed earlier, I don't recall.
All right. Hello there. Hello there, Zero. Good to see you. And oh, okay. And so, a lot of traffic. Have you had a lot of traffic tonight? Oh, I'm featured. Okay. Well, yeah. It looks like YouTube is acknowledging me in the algorithms. They're being nice to me today. So, yeah, shout out to the lurkers and those in chat. Thank you, Zero, for the information. Okay, so Moki says we're locked up during a game and heard this bang. I've never heard it before. It turns out big old Mr. Fuzzy Pants was locked in the bathroom. Oh, okay. Yeah, because when you're in the house and you hear like a bang, you don't know what that is, and it's like, what on earth is going on here? But that's what it was, yeah. Oh, yeah, Moki, we need to, that sounds like a good idea to stage a fight to boost the viewings. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because when anytime, a fight happens, it seems to boost the viewings and subs and everything. Yeah. Scared. Alright, and he wanted our me kid's daughter parents, one of our friends. Okay, that is cool. Y'all had a gathering. Loki says, "Don't touch me there, Zero." Oh, scared. Uh-oh, here we go. The fight starts. I'm down. Let's go. Puts up my dukes. Okay, and let's see. Not our stupid fingers. Stage a fight. Puts up the dukes. So it looks like the radio room. You might be the only one that can give me a challenge. Chuckles lightly. Okay, so. Okay, Zero. So. They were saying over in the radio room that somebody went and messed up the signal, and they're saying that you did it over in the spaceship. And I thought we told you that the sensors need to not be tampered with. Okay. Let's see what the response to that is. Okay, yeah, so. Well, as I said, I'm glad that Mogi y'all had a good time and it was a good gathering. Speaking of fights, there was the other night under the house. How did I put a crack in the dish? You put a crack in the dish because first of all, in the radio room, there is this satellite thing that's small. So it's, oh, hello, Doe, good to see you. Oh, and Doe says you can fight with Anna Plebo. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we have the situation what you did. There's, first of all, there is a literal dish that was broken in the kitchen. And the reason why there was a crack in it was when the other, besides the radio room, what you did in that room, when you're going out of the radio room, there is a dish where you had a lot in your plate, and then it fell, and it cracked a little bit. That was the first part. And now it has to be replaced. And then the aliens are snickering about it in the spaceship, some of them. They're saying, Zero, he was being clumsy. Which I'm like, Zero isn't clumsy, but then there's security footage. And they said, yeah, it was him. Now, the radio room incident, there's a little satellite dish in there, and there's a knob, and it's supposed to be turned a certain way, and then the knob broke off, mysteriously. But in that room, there was no cameras on. It glitched out. So what we did instead was we figured out you are the guy that fixes everything. Yes, that is true. So in the radio room, the radio went out of whack, and then it's all over the place, bouncing signals off the walls. And you don't charge for any parts and supplies. And any parts and supplies. Oh yeah, well, yeah, that is correct. Now, according to the administrator, though, you did charge one time. And it was a hefty order. Now, is there a doppelganger that's trying to take Zero's form as a clone? That is a theory that's floated around. Oh, hello, Mermaid. Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, Zero. So basically, in that room, it's been broken off. The radio room's having a problem. Although the administrator has accused you of doing it. But, as I said, it's possible with the security footage it could have been fabricated with AI. Because you do fix everything. I do agree with that. That is true. And you make it the spaceship run. Okay, so, and that is the situation. Now, do we need to examine the footage? Nice. That's good you did it for her. Okay. So Zero says, no, that was the first charge people on the list. Oh, okay. Well, according to the contract, it said that you do not do that only with Temu disclaimers. So the administrator is up in arms about it because of the one-time charge. So, as I said, they're accusing you of fooling with the dish that broke. They're saying you did it. And they're also saying the radio room is your fault too, over there. And the radio room has no security footage. It blacked out. But the other room where you have this, it shows allegedly Zero messing with it, with the dish and breaking it. New profile. Yeah. All right. So yes, of course. Okay, and too many cowgirl hats in the chat. Okay, and Zero says, "What do you mean? I just fixed the dish and made a whole new display, so the knobs are no longer required." Really? Okay. Okay. Now, well, I will say this about the radio room. They're telling me in the radio room right now that the signals are not working and it's going all over the place. It's too many Republicans. Yeah, too many Republicans. Yeah. So, they're saying it's not working. Now, what is your refutation for this? Why is the radio signals not working correctly? That's one thing. And then you just fixed the dish and made a whole new display. Okay. You just fixed the dish. Well, okay, but I will say, okay, you fixed the dish. That's cleared out. But there is a giant pile of glass broken, and the administrator said that it was not the Space Yeti. Okay? But it was you actually that broke another dish. Heller, I am like, and be able to have a baby, you bigots. Oh, Heller, I like my man to be able to have a baby, you bigots. Oh, oh, we're gonna get Moki in the moment for that one. All right, and Zero says, well, why are they trying to mass send messages to one location? All right, the reason why they're trying to send messages to one mass location is because they were trying to get information from a cargo hold out in deep space. Okay, out in deep space. That was going to deliver 10,000 million tons of supplies that was specifically geared to the garbage facility. So this is means tons of garbage bags and garbage cans. And then they were trying to send a signal to bounce off that signal to the other ships for basic communication. And they're claiming that it's out of whack, and there's like this frequency that's going all over the place. It's bouncing off and all. Now, I don't know if it's completely true because I don't know how the new system works exactly. So that is to answer your question. Now, Moki says, Heller, I'm able to have baby. Well, see, Moki, I disagree with that because it is completely clear that biological men do not produce offspring in the way where they carry babies. Because it's just a natural order of things. You have a situation where you have biological male and female that was supposed to be ordained there by, I believe, God, and it's possible with potential people could believe in scientific things like evolution if they want to. However it was created, that's how it was all the animal kingdom and all the plants and all the critters. It has to do with the male and female produces. So, unfortunately, the man cannot have the offspring, cannot carry the baby. As much as we would think that would be fun to do, we're going to have to put all the burden on the woman. Okay, you mean the crate I put in storage bay 49Z when I arrived tonight? Yes, that crate. That is the crate that we have linked in here. That is true, and that did come in there. But they're trying to get 3 more orders out to that other region. And they were going, rats. Zero did this. And then you have one of the aliens. He has 3 eyes, and he's purple. He's complaining. And he's getting all angry. And he claims to read the instruction manual. Did you make it in layman's terms? Alright, so what is your response to that one? Hate speech. Okay, it's not hate speech. It's simply facts. It's facts. Alright? So, hate speech, you could go all over the world to different countries where there's actual hate speech, where people don't have the freedoms. Like, I don't know, in my opinion, in Iran right now, that their government is not allowing people to have freedoms, in my opinion, over there. And also North Korea, for instance, and even China. And also people say Russia too, the Russia-Ukraine war. So you have all that going on, but over here, simply saying that something's been happening for thousands of years, where you have people producing the offspring of women carrying the baby, because their bodies are built differently. For instance, yeah, you could say, so that's true hate speech, in my opinion. And there was a ploy by the communist governments to try to stabilize the Western Hemisphere. So when you have the hate speech from their hemisphere over to our hemisphere, they had colleges, and they brainwashed the people to not see the truth, and they didn't want the natural order of things of man and woman relationships to be there. They want to corrupt it and destroy it to destabilize a country from within. I freaked out. I was a nurse myself. LMAO, they could never do this. Oh, the nursing men thing was some otherworldly hell. Scared. Okay, instead of punching the display and blaming me for his aggression. Oh, you mean it can't read my words, then he needs to let you do it. Well, okay, okay there. Of Alien Bot 247. So go tell the radio room of Zero's instructions to fix it. And that's how you do that. All right? There you go. So let's see what his response is. Facts are hate speech, channeling a blue-haired weirdo. Facts are not... See, when you have facts as hate speech, this is a complete manipulation. When you have facts, it's like, what is truth, as Pilate would say. And when you have that hate speech, it is complete manipulation to try to see people to not see the truth. Because when you have something as hate, people are not going to see it and go along with it. But the fact that the people that are accusing of hate speech, they're the ones that actually have the hate speech themselves. They're the ones with the hate. And because they want to cause destabilization. Now, so that is to answer your question. But you have a situation where you have men that were built physically, or designed physically, or evolved physically, to do certain tasks that men do best. And there's tasks that women do better than men. Because you have, a woman does great with a child, bearing the child and caring for him. And then you have the men who usually would do physical labor. Now, women and men can both do what they want to do, but this is how, for thousands of years, it has been the way it is. So that is answer to that question. Now, over in Russia, where they had revolution, they did these same things, and they said parent 1 and parent 2, and they took away the identity of the gender roles, and they took the stuff like that. So when they took that away, you then were replaced with the state controlling everything, and their identity goes away. So when you have that happen in the United States, that is the whole point. And then if you have the man carrying the child, you completely thwart everything into complete annihilation. Oh, okay, mermaid. Understood. The guy who stabbed supposedly in the riot was Jake Lang. Oh, okay. And mermaid, I saw that earlier. And when that happened, that was crazy to see on camera. Oh, Zero is ignoring because he forgot the present. Oh, okay. Yeah, mermaid, I do agree that anybody that beat the conservative in the riot needs to get elected. Seeing you guys out to a video. Oh, okay. Well, mermaid, I'll definitely watch it later. Yes. Do things fast and break things, so to speak. Yes, very good idea. And mermaid, I'll certainly be watching that later when it comes out. All right. Mermaid, you've been doing excellent with the videos, by the way. Excellent. Okay, yeah, Zero is not only having controversy in the radio room and the kitchen, but now what he's doing is ignoring Moki's present. Okay. And when you had Russia with its Orthodox order, and then it was a religious institution that needed reform, yeah, never give up. Never give up. Yeah, okay. So now in this other circumstance, in Russia, there was the uprising of overdo the cultural norms. That's where we get the idea, the culprit. Now, the idea of the men carrying the babies, that idea also originates from the French Revolution too. Over there, it was French thinkers that thought of that, and then it spread over to Russia and different places, which is something I didn't know. But yeah, in France they came up with a lot of these ideas. So then in Russia they took away the traditional marriage during the earlier part of the communist regime. There was relaxation on the LGBTQ group, and there was lots of burnings of churches and different things like that over there. So yes. And then these ideas spread over to the West and their colleges, etc. And I do believe a lot of these movements that are trying to claim that they're advocating for women and stuff like that are actually going against them. They are, like, they'll say, for instance, they're going to stop. Ah, good to see you, Hamilton. Welcome to the stream. We're starting fights in the chat, and for fun. All right. So, and good evening to you. Now, you have that situation as it came over from Europe and came to the United States. And yeah, so that's my opinion, is that they are going to say they're going to stop racism and stuff like that. But in actuality, what they do is they speak in a certain type of language where they actually see them as, of course, everyone wants to stop racism, things of that nature. But I think that a lot of times they actually promote policies that encourage racism low-key, although they say they're trying to stop it. Same thing with Moki's idea of the man carrying the baby. It's all actually a reverse psychology ploy to attack the group that they're claiming to protect. Sort of like a Trojan horse theory. And this was a concept that even Malcolm X was saying, that they claim to be friends of the blacks, but they really weren't, and they're trying to destabilize them. Right. So basically destroying the enemy from within. So that is my take on that part. So, and Moki, that is the hate speech for you, right there. And then Moki says, here's where you are mixing it up. Yeah, exactly. So I have debunked Moki's claims. So those are completely debunking Moki's claims. Also, we have the situation in Venezuela where many people feel it's an unfortunate. Some people are upset about it. Some people are happy about it. Now, I do think that the regime was a dictatorship, in my opinion, and the people allegedly have been oppressed for quite a while over there, and it need to have a change in that region. And by that changing in that region, much more oil will come to the United States from there. Now, allegedly, Venezuela has lots of oil that they produce. Now, China and Russia both have condemned the Americans' actions, but Russia has remained silent on doing anything about it. And they're saying Putin himself has not said anything about it either. So, that is what I think, is that there's a giant political proxy going on, and then there's going over to Greenland. Now, how do we know that the other countries are trying to steal the minerals over in Greenland? Then if America had it, maybe it would have benefited to have it in its arsenal. But then again, the war in Greenland will cause a giant war, possibly. And we do a lot for NATO. And by doing a lot for NATO, we will, if one of those other countries wouldn't attack them, we usually are the ones that help them out. So it's kind of funny to see how they're putting troops on the ground over there in Greenland. Right, now, I will say, as we are being controversial in chat, we'll say that America first, America is great. And We'll see which countries want to mess with us. Scared. In news with Iran, there's lots of protests and stuff going on over there, and it is in that region. So in Iran, people want to see a regime change. There's been talks about the Shah, the returning, which is the son of the original ruler. Now, the son of the original ruler returning, people think that both regimes are bad. Now, people think America's meddling in their politics too much, but it is unanimously true that everyone wants freedom, but of course you have different views of what freedom is. So will they change regimes or will they not? We'll have to wait and see. And do y'all think, does anyone in the chat think, hypothetically, should Iran change regimes or not? Because there's been theories of destabilization where there's Gaddafi and these other people in the Middle East where they have a destabilized country over here and there. And then this happening, people think that we've destabilized different places for oil, stuff like that. Now, I do think now, some people may think it's unpopular, that if there was a regime change with the current leadership, it probably would go better, but not necessarily, though. It could go quite opposite. That really depends. So, and that is going on there. And yeah, I just think, in my opinion, that the parties have not really changed much. And just for those coming in, we're having a controversial chat right now. So yeah, I think that, there's parties, right, that historically had slavery. Like, for instance, the South was the Civil War. You had the South that was Democrat and North that was Republican, and they fought over slavery. Slavery wasn't the main thing, but it became a situation later. That was really the war was about that, because there's a saying, like, they want to end slavery, right? And, well, they want states' rights, but states' rights for what? Is it, the argument. And the South, which is rural, and they did lots of agricultural work, and the North was industrial with factories, things of that nature. So when the two factions went to fight the war, the North was better prepared because it had better infrastructure than the South. But yes, you had the Democrat South, where they had this population of planters, and they had the slaves, and they wanted to keep it that way. So eventually they lost, and then you have this the solid South and the Republican North. And over time, you had different demographics and situations that caused it to change. Now, of course, I am also open to different opinions and discussions if people think that I'm wrong about something, because we're all just learning here. But yeah, and when this happened, my opinion, that the Democrats, not all Democrats, but there's a value there where they want to keep this institution there. Even to this day, allegedly, some factions of it might still want the institution to stay there, with cheaper labor being imported, stuff like that. Where the other side might want to preserve the republic itself. And as I said, both sides did different marketing tactics to keep the institution, their main ideology there, but marketing to different people at the same time. So when they say, like Fromoki was saying earlier about the men carrying the female, the men carrying the baby, these kind of strange ideas, it's really would just cause more destruction to everybody, because that is what the idea of the opposing force wants to do. Now, it was not America's original idea to begin with, because foreign groups were trying to, as I said earlier, to influence the country to think a certain way through their college campuses, eventually coming into what it is now. Ideological subversion. Because Yuri Bezmenov was a Soviet defector, and he said that America would destroy itself from within. where you would have, like, for instance, the riots, and you could say both sides could be doing this, where you have, say, riots or violence or a dissension in the country where two sides are splitting up. And it's not like a lot of people and factions will get in fights, but this situation was mainly from. He was claiming that outside forces were trying to get them to turn on each other. Now, we want all people to be free and people could do what they like to do, of course, and America could do whatever you want, and that's fine. Just enforcing the ideas on others, I think, is not the best thing to do. But people having a unique perspective to do what they want to do. Right, so the forcing of ideas is that they're like someone could disagree with somebody without being called, in my opinion, racist, unless it's blatantly racist or hate speech, like Moki was saying before. Yeah, all of that is just calling names out rather than just saying facts. So you could say a fact about why it's hate speech, but they'll just say it's hate speech in general. So, and that is my take on those topics. Yeah. So hopefully now we have tamed Moki and she knows of her wrong idealizations that she was having before. Because I am the alien with all the facts. And oh, it's racist to not call people racist. You see, that is a clever that's a clever ideological subversion right here. Chat, you're watching it all. You're watching the blue-haired angel at work here. It's like we're on a safari and we're seeing it work in its entirety. It's racist to not call people racist. Okay, so when people call people racist all the time, right, and the word has been used so much that it's become a meme. Now, there's actual racism that happened, that there's Jim Crow, there is the KKK, there is slavery, although there are, Irish groups that were enslaved, too, etc. And slavery exists throughout history. Still, in this concept of throwing that word everywhere it's racist, is just, when actual racist things happen, people are not going to care. And then if it was used too much, and especially under circumstances that may not really been racism, it's going to hinder the actual racist thing that occurs. So that's what they wanted to keep the slaves in check, so to speak. Sorry, I accidentally put it in Aaron's nose ring. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So that is refuting that point. And say if something is homophobic, right? And when you actually have something homophobic happen, it won't really matter because it's been used so much. And then, with, say, someone's misgendered, right? So you misgender somebody and there's an apocalypse about it. And, of course, I'm an alien, and on the planets that I go on, there are different genders. But on Earth, I just thought there was two. I didn't know that there's different genders, and it's hard for us aliens to always tell what is what. So yeah, that will debunk that. And saying someone's privileged, because of their race, is actually a white supremacist type of thinking. Except the difference here is that they feel they feel guilty about it, and the white supremacist will feel emboldened about it. So there you go. That is the difference there. That they basically have the same idea, but it's flipped around a little bit. If they realize they're not, and it's noble for people to actually be against racism and against these things, or homophobia, etc. But the way they're doing it without them realizing it is actually going against the group that they're trying to protect. And so, main point here is that we're going to go against the grain, the Moki grain, and the females are going to be given the privilege of carrying the baby and doing all the chores and work in the house, and the men will be free to work the fields and do the hard labor. But of course they could both do whatever they want, but we'll keep the social norm. And we've debunked that the actual racists are those that are accusing everyone else of being racist. Usually, not all the time, but usually. So, and the nose ring is going to have to sit in the back seat, maybe, or be in the. How about this? Nose ring will be a sidekick. In the the co-pilot's chair. How about that? So you see, we're having a dialogue here where we're seeing different opinions and having different refutations for them. And because the alien knows all the facts, and facts are not racist. That is not true. And I debunk that. So, but if it is racist, then we have racist facts. Scared. Right? And let's see, we need, what else is controversial that we can bring up here? We have a situation earlier where they're protesting the ice. All right, the ice protests. And people could peacefully protest, but we've been seeing across social media that a lot of people are getting, just like we've seen the past 5 years. Going to be 5 years now. There's protests that get violent. And when protests get violent, it is... Hey, Mermaid. Great to see you. In Mermaid, we have seen this firsthand, is that the Lang, for instance, got hurt earlier in the protest, and everyone was following him like a bunch of ravaged dogs. And even Alien Spaceship, have been attacked recently by a horde of dissatisfied chatters. These, in real life, you have protests going on, right? And see, Martin Luther King protested, and although they weren't. Some people say that it wasn't always peaceful. I believe he was overall peaceful, more peaceful than some other groups, and he got for civil rights, and that is good in my opinion. And he preached God, and also I think Malcolm X and them, their interpretations were different, but he was another activist that was concerned for his people. So you have how they did it back then. And Mermaid said, yeah, I watched it now, and OMG, it's just ridiculous and sad. They hate pages are vile. Yeah, so anyway, and they will go like a hound of dogs and follow the person. He was all he was all bloody, and it was really crazy. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, it's like, why break windows? Why destroy things during 2020, which the Floyd riots? People were right to protest, of course, and things could have been handled differently, of course, absolutely. But desecrating the U.S. monuments, there's lots of people which have, and this is all my opinion. If anyone wants to refute me, go for it, and I'll even open up the calls for people to call in. I don't mind. But, and I've been around podcasts over YouTube. I've talked about these things. So, basically, in this scenario, when they destroyed the monuments of Abraham Lincoln, of U.S. Grant, so even them from the North were violated. And also they took the statues down in the South. Of course, so there's the controversy with the Civil War and the slavery, of course. But there's different, in my opinion, socialistic groups behind that. And so they're not trying to actually try to stop a treasonous group that was trying to break up the country and have the institution of slavery. And what they were trying to actually do is institute a subliminal socialistic idea now in the country. And during 2020, they rioted in D.C. and they rioted in the northern states. And remember, that's what the people that may have ideological ties to the Democrats of slavery, not all Democrats are like that, of course, but those in a faction that would have been in the slavery would have wanted revenge on the North for what they did. So this is why they pretend like they're for them, but they're really not, at the end of the day. You're getting food from the kitchen. Okay, there you go, Zero. I think I stay home with my kids instead of screaming in some officer's face, but that's just me. You know what I don't get? If you don't like someone, move or don't watch them. You'll never catch us watching people we hate. Okay, that's where Still Here actually think correctly. ICE posted video now, and we're asking them to go. Of course, that's fun. I like people when they say we're divided left and right, but there's no good side. Always makes me laugh. I get that there's a side who is right. Makes me sick when they were destroying Charlie Kirk memorials. Oh, Moki, I think that was actually absolutely disgraceful. There's someone I know that was a friend of Charlie, and in the conservative, the podcasting community, and I think that people don't have to agree with him, but when you do that, desecrating a monument or memorial is extremely dirty. Now, recently, I was... Yeah, paid agitators, yes. And, you see, they have no empathy, remorse, or compassion for their enemy. And just like in Russia and China specifically, a lot of this does come from China, too. I was reading the book of looking over the Chinese communist ideas. And yes, they were trying to destabilize the United States. And they wanted to have the uprising of peasants, again, in China, they had uprising of peasants against the landlords. And they're saying over here with the black community, with the white community. We would call the community, right? So you have, for instance, over in they're saying that they're the whites oppressing the blacks, and that the whites could not help the blacks. So their ideology would go and take over the country, in my opinion, and help the oppressed blacks. You see what they do here? America was very good with not being class conscious. It was like even Karl Marx complimented America on that. But the problem here specifically is that you have a situation where you had the uprising of races. You had people that segregation, right, and Jim Crow. So they did it by race. A race is being oppressed by the white race, right? So you have this, and if you divide the country, you could conquer it. They could send their ships and their Timu insiders and ruin the country from within. Abraham Lincoln thought that it's not like America's problem will be from within, not from an outside force. Yeah, and AC Hamilton says, you're right, and there's a huge amount of energy going into destabilizing us, and it seems to be going horribly well. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Moki is going to make us all a sandwich in the kitchen, and she's going to have to understand her place. Exactly. You see? I got her there. They want to change America so much and don't understand freedom and where it came from. It's distorted to them. And yeah, people are insane right now. Tons of us do not leave the house because of it. It's so true. SpongeBob had it right when he stayed in his house. And over in his house, okay, let's see. You got there. Yeah, when in his pineapple, rather, not house. He was just sitting there washing his chip and his penny and his tissue. Oh, yeah, so there's been some documentation. Yeah, so there's been a documentation that Martin Luther King did the cheating. There's a different FBI files that were released, and that he may have cheated on his wife and was involved in maybe some scandals. That's what she was talking about. MLK. according to the FBI files. Yeah, I saw that before. There's black conservative content creators that were telling me about this. So it was not like a one race was saying it over another. It was like something that was documented, and I'll say alleged because there was like that he did the cheating. Yeah, just stay home and someone comes in and get them. Right. Yeah, meat sandwiches for everyone. Facts. Duke, we're being controversial right now. Welcome to the chat. So true, back when I was a kid, no one cared about all this stuff, and we're friends and whoever was around and didn't give much and thought it was that. Now, as I said, in my opinion, I don't mind the civil rights, or, that's good that they, people have the rights or whatever, but yeah, him as a person apparently did stuff like that, yes. Now, there's some people in the conservative black community that have mentioned that there was an increase in violence and crime, or like, for instance, there's ghetto areas where there's still crime and violence, and some people blame the integration over it, which that's what they have said, that before it wasn't bad, but then over time it got different. Now, I think that going person by person, it would, depend on the individual. Like, I think that people can have a choice or a chance to be how they want to be. And I have neighbors that are perfectly fine. But yeah, there certainly is that factor that they have mentioned as their own community analysis. And a lot of times they want, like, people do their work at their jobs, etc. And there's other people that may want to take advantage of what they did and have socialism where everything is like a utopia. Now, it's good to have everybody to have what they need, but they want to make it where if you give all the money out and pump it out everywhere, the dollar becomes less valuable. For instance, in 2020, they did this thing where they pumped out a bunch of money. When you print all the money, you have a situation where the dollar becomes worthless. So that's why precious metals and some stocks are going up, because the when you print all the money out, it doesn't work. So that's why we have inflation. And Margaret Thatcher said if you have, basically when you run out of other people's money, the whole system goes bankrupt. All right. Let's see the comments. Now we live in a dystopian, futuristic world where there is no humanity, humility, remorse, and it all feels mediocre in 26. Anti-suffrage, get back to taking care of children, making food, ladies. Look what happened to the kids since you've been slacking and trying to be independent women. A guy brought up Sentiment Widows group, and some woman attacked him. I was like, what the F? What's wrong with him? Give my swammy and someone more needy. I had one already today, and tomato, mayo, and bread meat. And a woman can do whatever she wants. Like, a woman can work if she wants to. A woman can do whatever she wants. Now, there's times where women have to step up to the plate under certain circumstances, and those women show their strength and resilience during tough times, and it's good they do that. Now, but to put women in a position where they have to do it, and they have to go out and be independent, be confident, all this stuff, and it's being forced on them, this is not really what the right thing to do here is. They can do it if they want to or if they have to, but the norms of usually, like how in the past things were a certain way, and then over time, it being developed into how it is now. And that is the way it evolved over time, but all they're doing now is causing society to collapse. And okay, handmade their breads every day, right? And Zero says no woman wants to. Oh, let's see. Mogi says women can do whatever they want, so can men. But in my opinion, I prefer a man who can protect and provide. I don't want a beta. Well, that's good, Moki, and that's ingrained in your biology to feel that way. And you usually, in my opinion, men are built physically stronger, a lot of times taller than women. That is funny, Duke. That's funny, Duke. Yeah, and Zero. And yeah, that's right. It's biologically ingrained into them. And then women are usually shorter and not as strong, so the men want to protect and provide, so a woman needs to protect her and provide and protect herself. How's the tongue twister? Alright, and no woman wants to do the hard, dirty jobs, yet they think they don't need men. Okay, no internet, electricity, and water for you because men are the reason you have those things. Yeah, preach, Zero, preach. Luckily, women can somewhat choose, but my point was, even they do or don't have families, they still fail and never seek help. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, Mermaid. That's extremely true. Women can barely even open up a boxes, and their nails will be ruined. Trust me, I worked with them, and I do it for. I work to support my whole family, but by both choice and necessity. I do not, however, even slightly believe it should take two salaries to support a family instead of one. I lived through that paradigm change. Understood. Okay. And yeah, and back in let's see, and whole family, but both choice and necessity. Okay, that's good. That and see Hamilton, you stepped up to the plate, and it was necessary, and by your choice, and you could do that if you'd like. That's fine. And I'll give you my alien permission. And however, even slightly believe it should take two salaries to support a family. Instead, live through that paradigm change. Oh yes, and Hamilton, you saw a change that, of course, I, in my time, only heard about. You see, when my grandparents are growing up, I saw this. I saw this situation where you go to a movie and it costed 10 cents. It costed a dime. It was safer streets and better back then. And houses costed were much cheaper than they were now. I was looking up, and we're talking about OJ trial too. In the OJ trial, you know, his it's like so much cheaper. His house and his car, everything was much cheaper than it is now. So that is true, and I do think, in my opinion, high inflation over time caused it to be that way. But yes, in a perfect world, yes, I would love to see it where a family could have one person working and doesn't have to take two salaries. Because a lot of times, a man and the woman is both working, and they put the kid in the daycare center, and a lot of times, which that's okay. But yes, back in the past, and see Hamilton, there's so many people that are struggling right now to make ends meet. The groceries have not gotten cheaper. We want to see them cheaper, right? And yeah, it's going up and up and up. And absolutely, I think that it should be an ideal society where only one person has to work for that to be. But as I said, it's just the inflation and a bunch of other things that went into play that caused the way it is now. But you're absolutely correct, Hamilton. When I was growing up in VT, if a woman worked, people were kind of scared. Oh, they were scared. Okay. And so you got to live through that whole entire ordeal, right? And let's see, Moki, I guess it makes bubble rings at the top of their water and stick bothered. Also, it makes their happy, ready to mate. Me too. I just found out there's signs you can tell if they're happy. Okay. Okay. And Zero said that's not an opinion comment. Men and women, it's fact. Men more physically dense. Have you seen pro female teams lose to high school boys the same sport? You know what, Zero? I appreciate you fixing me there because it's not an opinion. It's a fact. It's a not even a Timu Sheen fact. It's just a fact that men are physically stronger, taller usually than women. And in the women's sports, for women's sports, for instance, I got to go there in a moment. But yeah, in women's sports, you have a situation where they in the high school versus boys, yeah, they completely lose. Exactly. Let's see. Things to a good extent. Corporate greed. Yeah. Yeah, corporate greed, Hamilton. Very true. Women would be either teachers or nurses. Yeah, and I have all my teachers were based. A lot of them were women. A lot of my teachers were women. Nurses. Oh yes, yes, a very true chat indeed. Okay, so women's sports. Now, I do think that if people they want to change their genders or whatever, that's their business. But I do think with the sports, when you have a biological male competing against a biological female, it does not end well for the biological females that they're allegedly, which I'm not even going to say went into so much trial stuff. I got programmed a certain way, so I'm gonna have to undo my programming and go back to how I am. So I know for an absolute fact, in my factual stance, that when you have someone that's tall that still has the physical strength and body of a male competing against the biological females, it's not going to be equally yoked, so to speak. Now there's a woman named Tiffany, which was a transgendered person, and they were Regina, welcome to the chat. Hola. Buenos noches. So we are talking about controversial political things right now. And we have a situation where they're putting them in the sports as unfairly yoked. So with Tiffany, they were able to biologically make the person's body into like a woman. Completely into a woman. So it's equally yoked. So if they could do the trans thing where they could make them like the woman completely, that's, maybe they could argue it's something different. Or they could compete in their own sports against each other. But when you have it too much, because I will say they're not even completely transitioned. They're still the other gender that they were before. So that is definitely true what Zero is saying about that. Hokie says, it's insulting to women when a man thinks he can put on a dress and makeup and become one. That's what makes us women. Yeah. And that is something idiosyncratic, unique to the woman. What about the hormones? Hell no. Facts, Mermaid. Facts. Okay, Hamilton. Good evening to you and thank you for coming. Right? Yeah. Okay, and Zero says, can you flip your personal organ inside out, but you can't change your chromosomes? Drops mic. Yes, and Yamoki says about TikTok. I blame the Chinese for the social cognation that spread through TikTok. Oh, TikTok. I never got TikTok yet or at all because I do think it was some sort of a ploy by them to it was a ploy by them to completely go and destabilize the United States through digital media. Now, although the company is from Singapore, still there's alleged influence of China, which I believe is factually influencing them. So while China is with their TikTok app and influencing the young with these certain trends, I'll give you an example. Over in China, the TikTok app promotes hard work, resilience, comradeship, and all of that combined. But in this scenario, on the Western side, it's promoting degeneracy, of dead scrolling, and BS that's poisoning the youth. Now, of course, there's all kinds of things on TikTok that isn't like that, but allegedly, I mean, they are promoting it on our end to poison the youth in their minds. Right. Chinese succeeded in socially destabilizing our country by attacking our youth through TikTok. Yeah, and Vladimir Lenin, who was the communist revolutionary of Russia, said that if you give him the youth, you will give him... If you give him the youth, he will take over the entire nation. Absolutely. Absolutely. So then the Chinese Chairman Mao went to the Soviet delegations and he explained to them about his plan for China, and it basically was the same thing as what we have today, because that's what they're doing to our country. And the chairman also, the current ones, have their own book that they're promoting. Xi Jinping, the White Book. And I will say that the communist, the little red book that they were giving out was similar to a Bible or a religious text to them. They made it to a brainwashing mechanism for their people. And Chinese succeeded on socially destabilizing the country by attacking you. So they're basically using the same methods that they planned out for, a century. So anybody that tries to tell you otherwise about the communists and what they're trying to do is going to not be a happy camper. Because they don't want to know the truth about it. Right? Especially the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's quite peculiar, where the dude couldn't just go and debate him on the college campus. He had to go silence him. Well, that's what they do in the other countries. They silence the dissidents for political reasons. All right. So, yeah. The current group, that faction, is predecessors of communism and socialism, backed by China by having a destabilization within our own country. Now, there is a running theme about TikTok that you must understand. And it goes back to China from centuries ago, before communism came there. Alright, so there is the Chinese opium was a century of humiliation from 1839 to 1949. Describes a period when Chinese suffered foreign incursions, territorial losses, and unequal treaties following its defeat in the Opium Wars. And we are a little band of pirates right here. We are alien pirates. And we're going and causing mayhem. That's what we are doing. I like this. I like talking about these things. As I said, I'm a political commentator. That's what I'm known for on YouTube. Although I'm known now for also trials, I was very known for political commentary. So this is also my cup of tea as well. By the way, one of my friends is a court reporter in a trial, by the way. I'll have to show you all later. My Bal. So, Moki, my friend and I, Devin, we came up with this. Biden said Bal instead of pal, so her and I call each other Bal. So my Bal, Devin, is as a court reporter in a trial. That's pretty cool. Exactly, Mermaid. Very true. So there's a period of China suffered a foreign incursion of territorial losses and unequal territories following its defeat in the Opium Wars. And okay, Mermaid, good luck on the video. You did excellent last night, and I'll be looking forward to seeing the new video. All right, describes a period of China. So when they had the Opium Wars, China was high on opium for a very long time. And when this occurred, they wanted revenge, we think, on the United States. So TikTok and the fentanyl pandemic, that is part of China's revenge for humiliation. They claim that they're not having revenge, and they're trying to stop the drug influx. And the reason why they helped was because they were trying to take an opportunity to make money or whatever. But that's why you see, if you see $20 in the ground, it may not be $20. It may be fentanyl, and you touch it and you go out. My alien buddy, his mom's a pharmacist, and she was telling me if you touch fentanyl, it'll go through your body and kill you. One of my friends from high school OD'd on fentanyl, rest in peace to him. And they're explaining to us what fentanyl was, and it's a very lethal form of heroin. So we are getting on drugs and heroin, and this is why Trump is like, look, we can't have this stuff going on here. We have to be firm and stand against this. So this is where the tariffs on China are coming from, and trying to do what we can to stabilize the economy. So mindless people, when they want to be mindless and think they are right, say like the media does something and it makes them emotionally unstable, right? Look like a racist or whatever. It's like a trigger. It's like a bunch of rabid dogs. But when we logically assess the situation, you see the truth right here. That China was unjustly attacked with the Empire was doing opium. So they went over to China with their opium and did like a drug trade and say, hey, yo, we're going to give you your opium. And when the opium came, their people got addicted to it, obviously. And they tried to make it illegal at first, but then they forced them to make it legal. And then their people were poisoned for a century with it. And then the communism came after World War II. So you had the Chinese Republic, and I'm calling it a republic, and they had their emperor. And the flag was red with blue. And with the red and blue flag, this is what caused... that was the original flag. Then it went into the red banner of communism. So yeah, definitely chat. I definitely agree that China is using the same tactics to destroy the youth through TikTok and domestic terrorism, etc. Yeah. Especially through Antifa, and which is like Churchill said that the fascists of tomorrow will call themselves anti-fascists, and that's what they are. They people peacefully protesting are truly against fascism is noble, but the people that are policing others and trying to stop everything the way it's supposed to be running, that's an insanity there. You're trying to wear the same outfits with the flags and beat up people and fight people in the streets. That's what the SA did and the SS did. So everything they're accusing other people of that they're doing, the hate speech, the keywords, they're the ones that are doing that. They had slavery in the past, that party, and they're the ones that are truly fascists. So yeah, in my opinion view. Yeah, so that is just summing up what is going on with the world these days in the Western Hemisphere. Which I do believe the Western Hemisphere is quickly falling apart, but we need strong leaders in the West to combat the aggressions of the East. Right, and another thing I think is ridiculous is how they'll do these surgeries on kids, like changing genders. I think that they need to do it when preferably people should just do what they are, but if they want to do something, it could be adults, right? But when doing it to a kid is completely a crime, absolutely a crime. So, a bunch of circus nonsense, it is indeed. The first Opium War triggered by the Q Dynasty attempts to halt illegal British opium smuggling, curb widespread addiction, and silver drainage. Commissar Lin Zhu famously destroyed 20,000 chests of opium at Human, leading the British to launch a naval offense to protect the free trade. Unequal treaties. Following the defeat of China was forced to sign the Treaty of Nanking 1842, which ceded the Hong Kong to Britain, opened 5 treaty ports to trade in China to pay the massive reparations due to opium. Yep. And let's see any updates on Iran. Iran is navigating its most severe period of international unrest. Okay. Well, let's see the main news. Let's see right here. "10 hours ago, Trump said there's be new leadership in Iran needs to happen." President Donald Trump on Saturday called for an end of Ayatollah Ali 37-year reign. "It's time to look for new leadership in Iran," Trump told Politico, as widespread protests calling for an end to regime to appear to have waned. Thousands of protesters across the country were killed on the last 3 week, promoting Trump to repeatedly threaten military intervention. On Tuesday, called on Iranians to keep protesting and take over institutions, saying that help is on the way. The next day, the president abruptly changed course, saying that he had been informed that the killings had stopped. Now, I'll tell you all this, is that he is very good at roasting people. Where there will be people out there that will be like the media. He'll ask them what news organization they're with, and he'll make a comment about it. All right. And he said it, and it's what must be done. Scared. We are going to be mansplaining to chat and Moki about these things, and everyone's got to deal with it. Trump's comments came shortly after the Khamenei's X account posted a series of hostile messages aimed at Trump, accusing the U.S. president of being responsible for deadly violence and unrest in Iran. We find the U.S. president guilty due to casualties, damages, and slander he inflicted upon the Iranian nation. The Khamenei wrote. Other post, he said Trump had mischaracterized the violent group as representing the Iranians. Yes, and Mogi. Calling it to an appalling slander. I was just joking around, yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Just joking around. Omoki was just joking around. Well, we're going to just give you just 5 minutes in a naughty chair for that. Just 5 minutes. I'll be nice. All right. And Trump mischaracterized the violent groups as representing the Iranian people, calling them appalling slander. Trump, after being read the post, said that Tehran's rule rely on repression and violence to govern. What he is guilty of, in the leader of a country, is complete destruction of the country, use of violence at levels never seen before. Trump said, in order to keep the country functioning, even though the function is very low. Oh, there's snacks over there, so okay. Yeah. If there's snacks over there. Yeah, and yeah, those snacks keep you occupied over there. I don't know if the snacks are going to be continuing to be put there, but you could have the snack setter there for now. Yeah. And Trump, after being read the post, said Tehran's rule rely on repression and violence. What is guilty of the leader of country is the complete destruction of the country, use of violence at levels never seen before. Trump said, in order to keep the country functioning, even though that function is very low level, leadership should focus on running his country properly, like I do with the United States, and not killing people by the thousands in order to keep control. Why are people so foolish to not see this brilliant leadership he has? Why are they so foolish? Okay, and the exchange underscores a sharpening rhetoric between Washington, Tehran, and the violent moment of the region, as Kay recently made a public address. All right, it's like, you look at here. It's like you got all these people that are always upset about what this guy says. But they don't take anything what he says as factual because they do not go and look at the fine print. They go by their feelings, right? When you guide by feelings, you're not going to have any logical position. All right? Right here, you're getting complete facts. Is that, yeah, they probably should change leadership because the Shah was bad or the Shah was bad, and this dude is not really that great either, right? And Middle East, you have Saudi Arabia on our end, right? And they are not big fans of Iran because they have beef with each other. Contrary to what we'll see is that they're actually quite enemies. Yeah, and I mean, you got that's why they're called sheeps, right? They're called sheep because they're not really people, they're sheep. They do not have like a collective hive mind Like collective people, the collective hive mind, they'll attack, even on streams, they'll attack people. Like, they will, mindless cogs in a machine. But I will say is that when they get hurt, they're not going to get any morphine because China consumes all the opium, getting all drugged out. I'm all about facts. Even if it's racist, that's what I'm all about. It's like the enemies, these liberals are being like the pigs sniffing for truffles, but they find none. Oh, look at this. They're going to ban all guns, all pew-pews. Turn it and twist it around to only the people in charge having the pew-pews and firearms, and everybody being disarmed and powerless against a totalitarian regime. And I think that is definitely mean to have such a system. They free themselves but enslave the people. This is where logical thinking is coming in these verses. All these enemies and all these people that are thinking of the hive mind of collectiveness, even the blue hairs must go into churches. Because I will be ruthless with the verses. I rebuke all of the hive mind curses. And there you go. See, I did an intelligently roasting. Smooth, clean cut, smooth as butter about this event. Accusing others of what you're guilty of is what they will say you should do. I think the people need to stage a mental coup in their mind. Because when the truth is light out, it shines brighter than the sun. That's all I'll say in that verse, and it's done. I think the chat and everybody supporting us, it means a ton. Oh, look, it's a basement dweller. They weigh a ton. Alright, so that's everyone that is ending all the careers of the enemies. Alright, and let's see some more news. Alright, let's see, from 12 hours ago, the ingenious CNN came up with something. No, Trump can't cancel the midterms. He's doing this instead. Brian Stelter from CNN is that guy's like a joke right there. Like, he's a commentator, and he just has like a Pennywise smile to him. Scared. Worried about losing unified Republican power in Washington, and mystified at his lack of supporting among the public, President Trump keeps talking about not holding the November midterm election, when Republicans could lose control of the House and Senate, or both. That would be terrible, chat. That would be absolutely terrible. Our country's going to go into chaos and anarchy over that. Scared. Trump doesn't understand why his approval rating is underwater. But that's not true. You see, that is the lie. See, CNN conducted a poll, right? So it's not really the truth. And released it Friday. I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with their mind of the public, he told the House Republicans in a speech earlier this month. Later he added, now I won't say cancel the election, they should cancel the election because the fake news will say he wants the election canceled. He's a dictator. They always have to throw this out there about him being a dictator. You see, as I said, the people that are saying facts are racists, and etc., are the real dictators. You know, and they throw that word out here and there. I mean, even if he has a stronger position, it doesn't mean we're directly a dictatorship. It depends on the context of the context of the situation. But Trump did talk about canceling the election in an interview with Reuters this week. He said Republicans have been successful. When you think of it, we shouldn't even have an election. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later said the president was joking and being facetious about canceling the election. If it's a joke, it's the material he's been working on for months, told during the appearance with Ukraine President Zelensky. He is going to put everyone in a Pinsky. Last September in Ukraine won't hold up an election during the period of martial law. Okay, Regina, good evening to you. Thank you for coming. Enjoy your surfing. The web. Alright. If it's a joke, it's material he's been working on for months, told during the appearance with Ukrainian Zelensky last September. The Ukraine won't hold an election during the period of martial law during its war with Russia. Trump expressed some envy. So you say during the war you can't have elections, Trump said. So let me just say 3.5 years from now, and you mean if we happen to be in war, somebody, no more elections, oh, that's good. Sometimes there are jokes, sometimes they're not. Alright, so that is some news about that. Let's see here. Now they're saying the ICE tensions and immigration policies can shape the midterms. Now, I think it absolutely can shape it. Well, it depends who people are going to be free thinking and those that aren't. Those are and those that aren't. Now, a lot of people engage in Timu thinking, in Sheen thinking, etc. See, and I understand a lot of people will be upset over simple things without, because the media, I think, does a straw man argument a lot of the times. Like, they'll go and put out and paint a certain picture, but it's not reality. You know, like, I remember when when the woman got shot that hit the policeman, they only showed like a clip of it for a second. They didn't show the entirety. Right. So, and that's, you know, what I think. They're adding so many letters, you know, to the... Okay, Moki. See you tomorrow, and thank you for coming. Right. So anyway, so that is basically what we do in that situation. There's so much there that it's getting a bit out of hand, I think. Let's see. So what is going on with that? The President Trump threatened on Thursday to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy military forces in Minnesota after days of angry protest over the surge of immigration agents and streets in Minneapolis. Confrontations between the residents and federal officers have become increasingly tense after an immigration and customs enforcement agent fatally shot U.S. citizens car 8 days from Minneapolis, and protests spread across the city. He sent nearly 3,000 federal officers to Minneapolis area who have carried guns to the city's icy streets wearing military-style camouflage gear, masks that hide their faces. They have been met day and night by loud, often angry protests by residents. Some blowing whistles or banging tambourines on Wednesday night. Crowds of residents gathered near the area where Venezuela man was shot. Some shouted in protests, and federal officers ignited flashbang and grenades, released clouds of tear gas. And all the rioting needs to stop. People could do peaceful protests, but all that rioting needs to stop. It's completely ridiculous. Right. Now we're going to be back to the OJ trial for a little while, and then we'll end it.
Recall which, that there were more than 50 items that were collected on the 13th and 14th by you and or Dennis Fong. Is that right?
I believe we agreed on that, yes.
And isn't it true that the only items of evidence where you were instructed to change the numbers were for the sneakers and the blood vial?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Now, on August 23rd, 1994, you testified at a hearing in this case, didn't you?
I believe it was sometime in August, yes.
And you swore to tell the truth at that hearing?
Yes.
And at that hearing, in sum and substance, Ms. Mazzola, did you testify that you never saw Van Adder transfer the reference sample of Mr. Simpson's blood at any time after 5 p.m. on June 13th?
I'd ask for page and one sentence.
Sustain.
Well, when you testified on August 23rd, didn't you swear that the last item of evidence collected while you were still at Mr. Simpson's home,
Excuse me, counsel, page and line.
762, line 8 through line 11, bearing in mind the court's instructions.
Your Honor, I object to this on that. It's not inconsistent with anything that was just
Sustain.
Well, isn't it true that the last item that Your Honor, I believe that this was gone into on direct examination, reading this
No.
testimony.
No. I'm sustaining the objection under 770, 1335.
Isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that the last item that was picked up at Rockingham that day was item number 16?
The last time that I remember personally being picked up was item 16, yes.
And I believe you said that if an item is picked up by someone else and then given to you, you would also record that in the field notes, correct?
Correct.
You didn't simply record those items that you personally observed the collection of, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And isn't it true, ma'am, that from the time you collected item 16 until the time you ultimately left Rockingham to return to SID, that you and Fung were standing together the entire time?
No.
Well, on August 23rd, referring to page 762, Your Honor.
Line 24.
Beginning on line 24, that's correct.
Proceed.
Were you asked these questions and did you give these answers back on August 23rd at a hearing in this case? Question. Were you with Mr. Fung the entire time after you picked up the last item at 1700 hours until you departed for your next destination? Answer. I believe I was. Yes. On August 23rd, you were asked that question and you gave that answer, didn't you?
Yes.
And when you were asked that question on August 23rd, you were testifying based on your memory, weren't you?
To the best I remembered, yes.
Well, you never said, ma'am, in regard to that question, I don't recall, I don't know, did you?
I said there, I believe so, yes.
And then you said yes. I believe I was, yes. Isn't that your answer?
I believe I was, yes.
Okay. You didn't in any way say, this is something I don't remember, I don't recall if I was with Mr. Fung the entire time, did you?
It's argumentative. The answer stands and speaks for itself, counsel.
One moment, Your Honor. And isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that after item 16 was collected, no other item was recorded in your notes as having been received on June 13th?
At that time, no.
And since you testified back in August with regard to this matter, have other people suggested to you that your failure to substantiate Van Adder and Fung's claim that Mr. Simpson's blood was given to Fung on June 13th was a problem for the prosecution's case?
No.
Was there any discussion, Ms. Mazzola, in the laboratory about the fact that the television was reporting DNA test results on socks prior to the actual testing?
Sustained.
To your
Excuse
knowledge,
me.
Ms. Mazzola,
Excuse me. Juries to disregard the implication of that question.
to your knowledge, Ms. Mazzola, was anyone in the laboratory being investigated in connection with any alleged leaks?
Sustained.
As early as November 1994, Ms. Mazzola, was there a concern in the laboratory about allegations that there had been tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant.
Oh, well,
I do not remember if there was a concern over tampering with the sample.
Well, had there been discussion amongst the lab people at SID with regard to an allegation of tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood?
that's hearsay.
I'm offering for her state of mind, Your Honor.
It's hearsay, counsel. It's also irrelevant at this point.
Ms. Mazzola, you testified that you had discussed this case with several people in the laboratory. Is that right?
Not really discussed, just watched a bit of TV or listened to the radio a bit.
Well, didn't you testify on cross-examination last week that you discussed your involvement in this case with Michelle Kessler, your boss at SID?
She more or less wanted to give me pointers on how to communicate. She did not tell me what to say or how to say it.
Did you discuss with her the facts of your alleged involvement in this case?
Sustained. Do you have a
Did you
doubt about
discuss
that?
with her the nature or fact, did you discuss with her the nature of your involvement in this case?
Not really.
It's your recollection that the only thing you discussed with Ms. Kessler were pointers on how to conduct yourself on the witness stand?
To the best I remember, yes.
You have no recollection of discussing with her the substance of your involvement in this case?
No.
Well, you said that on one occasion, I believe as recently as April of 1995, you discussed this case with Ms. Kessler, Mr. Yamauchi, and Mr. Matheson. Is that correct?
We had a short meeting, yes.
And was that meeting simply to discuss pointers on how to conduct yourself on the witness stand?
Yes.
It didn't have any discussion at all, it didn't include any discussion at all about the extent of your actual involvement in the case?
No.
Isn't it true that you had a discussion about this case in the presence, about the actual involvement in this case, in the presence of Michelle Kessler back in November of 1994?
I can't remember what happened back in November of '94.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, isn't it a fact that on November 22nd, 1994, you discussed this case, your involvement in this case, in the presence of Michelle Kessler and in the presence of two detective investigators from the district attorney's office? Isn't that a fact?
There was a meeting, yes. I'm not sure of the date.
And at that meeting with Ms. Kessler and the two detectives, you discussed your involvement in this case, didn't you?
I can check for this, and that's where you will recess, but I don't know if it's not.
Objection sustained at this point.
May we break now for lunch?
Thought you were about to finish.
No, I'm not.
How much more do you have?
On this subject, I have approximately 10 minutes and 15 minutes, and then I'm going into the other matter for which we're waiting for certain items.
What's your time estimate?
I'm sorry?
What is your time estimate on that?
That's that'll take, the last portion of my examination will take, I believe, less than 1 hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regards to the case. See you back here at 1:30. Ms. Mazzola, you're excused until 1:30. All right? All right, I'd like to see co-lead counsel in chambers, please.
You had ordered the people to immediately produce those items of evidence, and I've been informed by Mr. Goldberg that apparently Mr. Matheson tells me it may take another few hours. And I thought that should be brought to the court's attention.
All right. Forthwith means as soon as possible.
Okay. Well, you should also know that, as I said before the lunch break, I have about, I'd say 15 more minutes on this area, and then I'm going into the area which requires the production of those items, which will take about 1 hour of cross-examination.
So how do you propose we handle this?
Well, I need those items, Your Honor, and of course, you ruled that they had to bring them over forthwith. I'll finish this area of cross-examination, I think in about 15 or 20. Mr. Cochran has suggested that the next two witnesses that people intend to call are both very short witnesses. One was the photographer, and the other was the tow truck driver. We would certainly be willing to allow them to use up the rest of the afternoon with one of those short witnesses, and then we could resume with Ms. Mazzola tomorrow morning once they produce those items of evidence.
Are those witnesses available?
I don't think they're in the building. We could conceivably start with Greg Matheson. He may do that anyway.
All right, well,
I'm
let's
not
see how
sure.
far we get.
Okay. Your Honor, The, oh, I'm sorry, could Ms. Mazzola step out of the room, Your Honor, with the court's permission to discuss this matter?
What's it deal with?
It deals with, as you may recall, at the end, after a series of questions and answers by Ms. Mazzola, I asked her whether or not she had participated in a meeting with two investigators from the DA's office and Ms. Kessler, where there was an actual...
She indicated yes.
Well, there was an objection, and you said sustained for the time being, okay? And if I can proceed, then there's no problem.
Ms. Goldberg?
Well, I don't know exactly what council intends to get into, but a while ago, there was,
No, we've wasted enough time with this, counsel. This is not a secret as to what we're talking about. She's acknowledged the meeting. You're going to ask her what was discussed during the meeting, correct?
We'll ask her what was discussed, especially in light of the fact that there were certain denials about having these discussions initially.
well, I don't know exactly which discussions he's talking about for sure. May I just tell you? Mr. Darden tells me that it is possible that the subject matter that I think counsel is going to get into was under seal, and that it was a matter that the defense said that they didn't want to pursue. I mean, maybe we're...
All right, Ms. Mazzola, why don't you step out? Thank you. You guys sure you want to get into this? Goldberg?
Well, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a consensus of opinion as to whether or not this subject was sealed. Mr. Cochran says he doesn't know, and Mr. Darden says he thinks it was. And therefore, I don't know whether I can address it in open court. Maybe Mr. Darden could, with the court's permission, because I wasn't here for this discussion.
Mr. Darden?
Your Honor, and I may be incorrect, and perhaps Mr. Neufeld can correct me if I am, but as I understand that these questions will relate to an investigation we conducted after we received certain documents presented to the court on November 7th, those documents which I presented to you in chambers when I first appeared in this matter. And as I recall, at that time, the court placed those documents under seal, and there was an indication from the defense that they had no interest in it, it was irrelevant, and that they would not pursue it.
All right, Mr. Neufeld?
Your Honor, if I can interject this, as a matter of fact, they indicated they didn't even want the document.
Proceed. Mr. Neufeld?
Your Honor, sorry. What I'm interested in is a meeting which occurred with Ms. Mazzola, Ms. Kessler, and 2 investigators from the District Attorney's Office. She had said earlier under examination that she never had a discussion when Ms. Kessler was present at which the actual subject matter of this case was ever discussed or any allegations of tampering ever came up. This was in fact a meeting which was held on November 22nd, 1994, where she's told by the investigators that we are working on the murder case of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. There's rumors, allegations going around that the crime lab working, that some of its swatches in the early stages, right after the collection of blood, tampering, going on in O.J.'s blood, on the swatches, things of that sort. Do you know anything about that at all? And that is the beginning of then a meeting that happens between Ms. Mazzola, Ms. Kessler's present, and these 2 investigators. In light of the fact that she had already testified that no discussion like this ever occurred, okay, and she was given a number of opportunities, Your Honor, to answer that question differently.
No, that's not my recollection of her testimony, counsel. She said that she's had a number of conversations, short, long, in between, in passing, with the DAs.
No, not with the DAs. She meant there were DA prep sessions. She said that. But she said that the conversations she had with Ms. Kessler, and she just said it about a half hour, toward the very end of the morning, were limited to pointers about her testimony. That's what she said, very explicitly here on the record, Your Honor. This was a discussion when Ms. Kessler was present, which was not about pointers for when she testified as a witness. It was a discussion about the actual substance of her involvement in this case. And that's what I wanted to ask her about. I do not intend to go into any collateral matters or anything of that nature. I'm simply limited myself to what...
How do you propose to phrase the question?
Well...
Give me the exact question you're going to ask.
Sure.
After you get the question and answer that, yes, she does now recollect this meeting with the district attorney's
Right.
representatives and...
There's a series of questions. Because I also asked her whether or not there had been, whether she was aware of any concern in the
What is
laboratory.
the question and answers that you're going to ask?
Okay. Question would be, and didn't the 2 detective investigators inform you at that meeting where Ms. Kessler was present that they were interviewing you in connection with an investigation they were conducting into allegations that someone tampered with Mr. Simpson's blood vial? Okay, that's the first question. Then there's 2 or 3 questions simply to point out that each time she was asked questions about discussions in Ms. Kessler's presence about the substance of this case or about tampering, that she claimed that those kinds of discussions didn't happen. Then I would ask her, in the 18 months that you've been at the Los Angeles Police Department, have you ever been questioned by DA investigators about allegations of evidence tampering in any other context, any other case? Again, somebody to suggest that this is not something that she would have forgotten. I asked her whether or not she would agree that an allegation or investigation into tampering is not is not your typical encounter that you'd have. Again, there's just a whole series of questions about how she wouldn't forget it. Then, Your Honor, what I'm going to bring to her attention is the fact that during this meeting, Michelle Kessler, fully aware of the fact that she already testified on August 23rd, that she never saw any transfer of blood and never saw anything else passed after items 15 and 16, isn't the fact that during the session held with these investigators and with Michelle Kessler, that didn't Michelle Kessler suggest to you that you actually saw Venata pass the blood to Fung? And the reason I want to bring that out, which is something that happened during that meeting, is I believe, Your Honor, it goes to this witness's bias and interest to testify a certain way in this case. I think there's no question that she is a probationer employee at the LAPD.
Was.
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Never mind.
Okay, certainly was at the time that this encounter occurred back in November.
All
That,
right, I'll hear from the people.
I think that's going to require a joint response from Mr. Goldberg and myself, Your Honor. But let me just indicate this. We conducted a mini investigation based on allegations brought forth by the defense last year, or last November. The allegations contained in the documents that I've alluded to already. As I read and understood the documents, they suggested that somehow Ms. Mazzola was somehow involved in some misconduct, and an internal investigation may have been done by the LAPD. I don't know. We did an investigation. If the court were to go back and look at the documents I surrendered to the court would note that they contain the content of conversations allegedly had between Mr. Cochran and Mr. Douglas with the author of those documents. I think that we're in danger, perhaps, of creating a situation where Mr. Cochran and Mr. Douglas may somehow be witnesses. I think that we are in danger of heading in a direction where we may have a mini trial on the issues raised in that particular document. I think it's dangerous. I think it's irrelevant. It will cause undue consumption of the court's time. Mr. Neufeld has been at Ms. Mazzola for 2 days now on cross-examination. I don't think that the defense case is going to be harmed in any way or to any degree if they're not allowed to go into this area. But it is a dangerous area. We cannot sit by and allow Mr. Neufeld to ask those types of questions without explaining to the jury why those conversations took place in the first place. So I'd ask the court to disallow counsel from going into that area.
Your objection is under 352, I take it then?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Goldberg, anything to add to that? Don't feel compelled to do so. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I'm taking from the court's indication that the court doesn't feel it needs to hear anything else.
No, do you want it, is there anything factually or legally you need to add to that?
Well, the only thing that
Just because I invite counsel to speak doesn't mean that they have to say something just to say something.
I was just trying to read the court.
No, don't assume that I've already made up my mind. I'm just,
Well, Your Honor, I'd like to address legally, number one, is there any inconsistencies between what she was asked by Mr. Neufeld and what he proposes to impeach her with, since I guess that is the legal basis upon which she wants to introduce this as impeachment. And it's my recollection that what she was asked were several questions about whether she discussed with Michelle Kessler the substance of this case or her involvement in this case. This has nothing to do with her involvement in this case. This is a fantasy that was somehow created by some author. I'm not sure where the exact source is or whether it is in fact attributable to the defense in any way. I don't know what the resolution on that was. But the point is that it is a fictitious set of events that apparently neither party subscribes to, that she is being questioned about. And how can you argue that that is discussing her involvement in the case? I think what we've seen here has been cross-examination through innuendo, where the defense has been allowed to ask a lot of questions that, quite frankly, I am not used to having seen about, did the prosecution tell you to do this? And weren't you told to say this? And are you lying because of that? And did someone suggest to you the following? And it's all in an effort to place innuendo before this jury as to things that the defense does not have a good faith belief occurred.
and most of your objections have been sustained and the jury's been admonished.
I realize that, Your Honor, but I think that